Humans on the cardboard. Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Tonight we got another top 5 video for you. This time we're looking at the top 5 core sets in Yu-Gi-Oh! Since the Link era started. I feel like that felt pretty fair. That kind of feels like the modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh! To me at least, because I started playing the game like literally in 2017, like right around that, within months of like the first core set for the Link era dropping. So it feels like that's when I kind of got into Yu-Gi-Oh! And I've been into it ever since. So I kind of can justify, you know, some of my opinions on this stuff because I've been around for all of these. So yeah, obviously this is opinion based, you know, so feel free to disagree. Feel free to let me know what other core sets from the Link era and on that you think could deserve to make it onto this top 5 list. And lastly, keep in mind, I'm also looking at these from a competitive standpoint, how many cards and what kind of cards they have that actually affected the format, whether it be like a high, like tier 1, tier 2 level, or even just like solid rogue decks as well, and basing it off of that. So just keep that frame of mind as we move through this. Let's get into it. We'll look at a set, and then we'll go through, skim through some of the highlights of that set just to remind you guys what kind of went on way back when. So let's jump into it. Number 1 on the list for me, or I guess number 5, working our way back to number 1, Soul Fusion. At the time, this set looked pretty good, and then afterwards you were like, whoa. The Thunder Dragon archetype debuted in here. Obviously, this was one of the premier decks in TOS format, very famous format, and it was awesome. I mean, pretty much all the cards it needed were in this set. It was immediately good and stayed good for a while. Next up was Orcus, but this was the first iteration of Orcus. We didn't get Orcus Nightmare till later, and a couple of other cards as well, like Ding, but we did get the core here. We did get the Heart Pour. We got the Symbol Skeleton, some of the Link monsters that were really important, and you know, Orcus ended up being one of the best decks in TOS format as well. You get the Frightwork for Patchwork. That's actually seeing more play now than ever. Dragostapelia, again, seeing play now, and Despia more than ever. Tsuchinoko ended up being a good extender in certain decks. Salamangreat, this was before the structure deck came out, I believe, so this was actually just a couple of really good cards for Salamangreats, and then when the structure deck came out, it was immediately playable, but there were some other cards in here too, but Will was definitely one of the highlights in here. Then we get to the generic cards. Trap Trick, awesome card for a lot of rogue decks that are trap-based. Token Collector, which really you kind of sat on. You were like, this card could be really good one day. It has been over the last couple formats. Sword Soul and against the Adventure Engine, definitely. Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, still a powerhouse even to this day. Very scary card to run into. And Pankratops. You know, what's really funny about this list is the more cards we see that actually end up on the ban list makes a set better, because we're looking at it from a competitive standpoint. If they made a card so good it had to be banned, that's kind of a bonus for that set, to be honest. So, Pank. All right, next up here we move to Phantom Rage. This is number 4 for me. Tri Brigade, immediately meta. Immediately meta. Well, actually, no, not immediately meta. I think we needed the next core set for them to get a meta, but I think the only real huge card, I think in the next set they got Bearbrum plus Kit. And I think that's what they needed to be meta, but this still started them out. This still was the beginning and most of everything they needed to kind of end up at that point, and Tri Brigade's been a house ever since. Virtual World. Virtual World was meta. It got True King of All Calamities banned, and since then it's still been a solid rogue deck and in and out of like formats as a pretty popular deck. It's good. Has a small consistency issues at times, but other than that, it's like such a good deck. It can combo, but it can also play the control game really well and grind. Really cool deck. Phantom Knight support. Phantom Knights have been, again, in and out of just meta contention ever since this support came out. The hit to DPE definitely hurts them. We'll see where they stand after that in the new format, but yeah, still looking good. Prank Kids Mamamoo, now banned. Just goes to show you that's actually good for this set as far as this list is concerned. Joyous Melfi's one of the better cards for the Melfi archetype, so it's nice for them, but yeah. Warning Point, kind of a letdown trap card, but I still think it's a decent card. Just hasn't really seen much play. I figured I'd throw it in here. Banquet of Millions. This one's funny because it's actually being played more in Master Duel because it's a 1-of-1 format. It's not a best of 3, so you can just FTK people with this card. But still really powerful for what it is. And then for the big generic cards, Alpha Master Beast, this card ends up in and out of people's side decks even now. Still a really powerful card, kind of like a newer iteration of Pank. And especially with Pank at 1, sometimes having this card as a de facto second to 4th copy of it is really nice. And then Zeus. Zeus is a house. It's on the level of access code where if this card's in the format you kind of needed. When this card came out, you literally had to say, can my deck beat Zeus? Can my deck handle Zeus when a Zeus is dropped? If you said no, you probably couldn't play the deck you wanted to play for that format. With Tri-Brigade, Zodiac running around, you just had to be able to handle this card. And if you couldn't, you were screwed. Moving on to number 3, Rise of the Duelist. This set is wild. The top end of this set is crazy. Dogmatic has debuted here. Been meta relevant ever since, pretty much, even if it's on like tier 2 level. It's been around there. Infernobles were a tier 1 deck, arguably the best deck for a little bit when it was doing insane hand-ripping stuff. It got stuff like Smoke Grenade banned. Definitely still a powerful deck. Melfi's, this is where they debuted. It's been more of a rogue deck, but it's seen a little bit of rogue success with the Tri-Brigade stuff, so you gotta shout it out here. For legacy support, pretty good Fluffle support in this set. Mathmech Diameter, pretty good card for them. Koakimir Supplier for Adaemancipator was huge at the time. Megalith Full, Megaliths, with I believe this came out while Block Dragon was still around, and getting this card with Block Dragon just so good, especially because it's level 2. Dragonmaid Tiding, to this day, good in Dragonmaids, and still playable as an engine in Dragon Link. Really good. Shit-All Schism. Oh my gosh, so many good cards in this set. This set was so good on the top end. Heavenly Dragon Circle, which kind of sat around and you were like, not good enough in Pure Tenny. Pure Tenny doesn't do enough. Then we got Sword Soul, and like this card now is like awesome in that deck. And then for the generic cards, Vespinato has seen fringe play in Exceed decks. Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, seeing more play now with like the Punk engine and stuff, but definitely still a house. Ice Dragon's Prison, Triple Tactics Townsend, Forbidden Droplet. Forbidden Droplet has been the biggest meta staple as far as side deck / main deck play pretty much since it came out. It's kind of replaced Nib in that regard. Like everybody was playing Nib left and right and like Dark Ruler in the side, but now this card just kind of trumps those overall in terms of like flexibility and power. So yeah. Okay, now we move to number 2. Now this one's going to be kind of, arguable for sure because the set is not out yet. This set comes out in like 2.5 months for us. We don't even have the TCG exclusives revealed, but I still have faith that the base 80 cards of this set is so good already, it's going to end up somewhere on this list for everybody by the time it's actually fully out. So let's get into that. Splites come out. This deck is going to be the best deck in the game when it comes out. Like, I promise. I just trust me on it. Tier Elements, this could literally be the second best deck in the game when it comes out. This deck is crazy. Rotates resources insanely, has an insane fusion mechanic, and all the cards in the archetype like read crazy. They're so good. Vernalizer Fairies, I think this could end up being like a funny rogue deck because it just combines with any other Earth archetype. It's hard to say right now just because it's so early, and even the OCG doesn't have a ton of results yet with all this stuff. They have some, but not a ton, enough to really tell if anybody's really messing around with this. But yeah, just something to make note of. Then a couple of awesome legacy support cards. Mathmech Circular, insane for all cyber stacks. Exit Sisters get a huge buff here with their 2 cards. Rika's get a huge, like Rika's could be a legit good rogue deck with their 2 new cards. And this new level 4 is awesome in Sun Avalon as well, giving them an additional monster negate to like protect them from certain hand traps. So very cool there. Punk get 2 new cards. I hear that it's pretty good. I haven't messed around with them, but I hear that they're really nice for them. Very cool. Scareclaw gets a Link 1, which actually kind of breaks their engine, gives them every Scareclaw's a 1-card combo now, so that's really funny. New Melfi support, we already talked about it being fringe rogue at times, and this only helps. Cool. This guy's insane. If he's special summoned, he just pops 2 cards, so off of something like Hieratic Seal, this card's insane. This card negates and then steals the monster you negate if you negate and destroy it. So that's actually pretty powerful. Splite Elf. This is one of the Splite cards, but ends up being super generic. You can reborn any level or rank 2 monster in your graveyard. So as long as you make this using a level 2, you can then just reborn that level 2. And there's no other restriction on it, I don't believe. So I think you can just keep Link climbing immediately. So again, just one of those cards that kind of like just gets you another body. Sure, just get another body and keep Link climbing. It's pretty good. Pretty good. And then for the really crazy generic cards, this card's kind of like a new age kaiju. I'd read it over if I were you. It has some pluses and minuses versus kaijus, but I think overall it's more powerful. Depends on the deck you can play it in, though, but a very, very good generic card. And Artemis Slay, this card lets you send extra deck monsters to grave by getting an extra Foolish Burial Goods as well on top of it. Very, very good card, especially against fusion and synchro decks. But you can play it versus anything any extra deck based deck. To be honest, those are the two best ones there, and it can't be responded to. It's going to be a side deck staple for sure, in my opinion. I feel very confident about that with Despia, the future with Tearalaments coming up. Like, I just expect this card to be very, very sideable for those kinds of decks. And number 1 on the list, it's Burst of Destiny. I don't think this would be a huge surprise to anyone. I'm still not 100% decided. I still think Power of the Elements will have a chance at usurping Burst of Destiny as the best core set, at least in my opinion, since the Link era. But Burst for now still has it for me. We got Sword Soul. Sword Soul to this day is still tier 1. Has not really left tier 1. It's an insane deck. It's very good. Fluandereeze took a little bit to get to tier 1, but now that they're there, they're chilling. They're great. They're really strong. You got to respect them. And they play in a very particular way that, like, a lot of meta cards just don't hurt them as badly as they do other meta decks. So they have an advantage that way as well. Despia gets a couple more cards here. I think Masquerade was in here. Brandon and Red was in here, and like Ad Libitum. Really nice for them. B-Troopers. B-Troopers were like fringe tier 2 high-level rogue for a little bit, and part of that was Descent and Assault Roller that came out in this set. We were kind of hoping for better support than they ended up getting, but we'll take the 2 good cards that did come out of it at least. Sunvine Sowing, this is the only reason the deck exists. If this card didn't exist, that deck right now, which is looking like it could be a potential tier 1 option, literally would not exist without this card. Evil Twins, Trouble Sunny, insane card for them. Took them from like very, very fringe rogue to arguably even like a tier 2 respectable deck, really good. Machina Ruin Force, really awesome card for the Machina engine. Really cool win condition that can just completely turn a duelo on its head, especially in a simplified board state. Destiny Hero Denier, I know he's not that important in the grand scheme of things, but he is really, really nice for heroes, especially since it's looking like Konami doesn't want to budge on Malicious at 2 on the ban list, so this guy kind of gives them a 3rd copy, essentially. Really nice for them. Then for the generic cards, Lord of the Heavenly Prison. This card has seen play in stuff like Eldritch as well as some other rogue trap strategies. Small World coming up in multiple decks that just need that little consistency boost. It is a -1, but god damn it, if it's getting you a card that pluses you 4, who cares if you go -1, right? Cupid Pitch, this card is seen play in a couple of synchro strategies. Auroradon is banned now, so this card could lose its luster going forward. I don't know entirely how well decks will be able to generically take advantage of this going forward, but it's definitely something that's really powerful, generically searching any monster with 600 defense in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Seems pretty good. Sword Soul, Supreme Sovereign, Cheng-Ying. He's kind of just a generic Synchro 10 boss monster that's annoying to out. He can have disruption if you have any quick way to banish a card on the opponent's turn. Really powerful card, honestly. Really nice. And of course, like the face of the set, DPE. This card's insane. With Verte being banned, he's not really going to see a ton of generic play, but he defined that last format. Him and the adventure cards literally defined that format, and yeah, I mean, it just speaks to this card. Like, literally, this card dropped, and immediately, if you weren't playing him, you were probably playing a worse deck than you could be, and that's not healthy for the game, but it is what it is. It does make this set better in terms of competitive relevancy, because this card defines a format. Like 2 to 3 formats, actually. So you got to respect it. This guy pretty much is the main reason. It might be half the reason why Burst of Destiny ends up number 1 on the list for now. We'll see. I think Power of the Elements has stuff like the Splites and Tearalaments that are going to be like on par, if not even better than Sword Soul and Fluandereeze ended up doing. The one thing they don't have is a complete and utter format definer like Destroyer. So that's kind of why this set ends up number 1 for me. For now, we'll see. You never know what Konami will do with the last 20 slots. There's a new archetype that we know is going to get revealed there. If they make it a bomb archetype, then like we could look back and be like, wow, they literally introduced 3 brand new tier 1 archetypes in one core set. That is insane. Maybe there's an argument to put it over Burst of Destiny, but for now, this is what I have. This is my top 5 list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys have some opinions you want to share. If you do, leave it down in the comment section down below. But yeah, just a fun topic. We've had some good sets. A lot of the other sets outside of these didn't even feel that close. Maybe you guys disagree. It really didn't feel like there was another great... There was maybe only 1 or 2 that I even considered for like the number 5 slot over Soul Fusion. But that's pretty much it. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel for more stuff from me. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.